Episode number 21, Comparing Too Much? Welcome back. In this episode, I want to continue a topic I started a few weeks ago, which was about dissolving our creative doubts, simply letting go of our creative doubts so we can have more joy in creating art, content, writing. So in this episode, in the visual version, you may become aware of a presence of a guest. It will be a silent guest, a cat. I'm visiting a friend, so this is where I'm recording. What do we do with this comparison? First of all, does it feel good to you when you compare yourself and your work to other people, or does it feel bad to you? There is actually a way of using comparison in a positive way. Maybe we could just get rid of the negative effects and keep the positive. Recently, I coached several people on public speaking, and one of the women, oh no, you are not eating that. And one of the women said, I wish I could speak like Ed or like Tony, because when they tell a story, it really is magnetic. Now, this lady is already successful. Already thousands of people are listening to her, and the response is very positive. And yet, she's inspired by somebody else, and she would like to speak like them. Now, here's a question. Does her audience want to hear another version of Ed or Tony? Does her audience want to hear a copy of Ed or Tony? Well, I bet that her audience would rather hear the best version of her true self, not a copy. But what is the best version? We also covered that. What is best? Let's look at the function of public speaking. Is it to be masterful with language? Or is it about connecting with the audience? So best has different meanings depending on the function of public speaking, which is also a part of creative expression. And let's go back to copying other people or speaking like other people. I remember in my coaching school, one person started teaching classes, and I could not shake off the feeling that she's talking like somebody else. And instead of listening to the content of her teaching, which probably was brilliant because she was a brilliant person, I was stuck on the impression that she is copying somebody else, and I could not find who it was, but I knew she's not speaking in her own voice. Don't do this to your audience. Iyanla Vanzat said, comparison is an act of violence against yourself. Comparing yourself to other people is an act of violence against yourself. In order to compare, what has to happen? You have to judge. You have to judge yourself and the other person. You have to judge your art and the art of the other person. And sometimes when you feel bad after comparing yourself to other people, that means that you judged yourself and your art as worse than the other person's art. Comparison has an ugly side and a good side. On one hand, it makes sense from the evolutionary perspective that we compare ourselves to other people in order to not stick out too much. But think about art. In art, in creativity, we are rewarded for being original, for doing something different. What happens when we compare ourselves to other artists, other creators? Instead of trusting ourselves, having courage to go with the inner voice, with the inner guidance, we look at other people and we adjust ourselves to fit in into what they are doing because we think that it works for them. I was thinking about this situation. It may happen in some groups. Imagine that you are comparing yourself to another person and you compare your work to their work, and they are comparing themselves to you and your work. What is going to happen in this case? So in order to do something original, you need to trust yourself, the inner guidance, and recognize whose voice is speaking, and you need to have courage to do this. Now, the ugliest part, the ugliest side of comparison is jealousy. You look at somebody and oh my gosh, they are doing such a great stuff, and you start being jealous. This is very dark, heavy energy that will start pulling you down. You have to transform it within yourself by looking at the brilliance within yourself, by looking at the gifts that you were given to expand. Because if jealousy was right, that would mean that the other person would have to say, okay, you suffer from jealousy, so let me shut down my creative gifts, my great life, just so you don't have to be jealous. Of course, that sounds ridiculous. So the escape from jealousy is to turning the light at yourself and seeing and finding in yourself the gifts and talents. If you were jealous of the other person, that means that that person has something within them that you also have. As I was thinking of comparasitis, I was paying attention to what's going on within me. Do I compare myself? And if yes, what do I do with it? I would look at an amazing painting of an artist in New Mexico. And I would say, oh, I wish I could paint like this. And I felt bad. So this is the moment. The feeling, the negative feeling is a sign. Hold on a second. The negative feeling is a sign. What was I just thinking? And there's this thought about comparing myself to the other person. Okay, that's a sign to stop it. So maybe I was not able to completely stop comparing myself to another artist, but I recognized the feeling, and it all took a minute or two. That was comparing myself to other people. Let's stop it right here. And this is how I was able to dissolve comparasitis. Perhaps it is a natural tendency for us to do because we notice other people and their creativity. Then there is this unconscious moment of comparing, unconscious moment of judgment. But then, whenever there is this negative feeling, that's a sign, oh, it was comparing, let that go. So, what is the positive way of using comparison? Learning and getting inspired. And when we get inspired, we are not putting the other person on the pedestal, but we invite a part of their work into our work, but we still filter the inspiration through our system, through our mind and energy field. I believe that happens all the time in art, and it has been happening for centuries. So this is the recap of the podcast. When we compare ourselves to other people, we never do anything original, because either we are stuck and we judge ourselves and we don't do anything at all, or we simply copy them and nothing original is created. In order to compare, you need to judge. So are you judging yourself and your creativity too harshly? What if you could look at your creativity and find the best moments there and evolve them, evolve the pieces of it that are very unique to you? Honor your unique creative potential. Trust yourself. Notice and value what is unique in your creativity, and then develop that. Because if you are not going to express what is trying to emerge from you, nobody else will. If you struggle with different blocks in your creative work, I have this short program, Get Your Creative Project Done, 8-week one-on-one coaching and hypnotherapy program, where I can help you to move past the blocks and get your creative project completed. If you are interested, go to positivelyrebellious.com, schedule a free 30-minute session. This is a non-obligation consultation where we will simply see if we are a good fit for this one-on-one work. I'm curious about your thoughts. Do you struggle with comparing yourself to other people? What does it create in your life? And were you able to free yourself from comparasitis? And how did it affect your creative freedom? Thank you for listening. Please subscribe to this podcast or to this YouTube channel if you enjoyed it. And if you know somebody who struggles with creative blocks, please share this episode with them. Maybe there is something they need to hear. and I will talk to you next week.